me mute myself. Hi, Mr. Moore.
Hello, sorry about that. How you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, good, good.
So glad you could make it and you're here and got through
Yeah,
all
sorry about that.
stuff.
This is a crazy day, so sorry I'm late.
It's okay. Thanks again for being here. We're real excited to have you.
Yeah.
Did you teach classes at SRJC?
Yeah, with Emily, I think, yeah.
I think I've sat in on your classes before. I recognize you.
Okay, good to see you again.
Yes, thank you for being here.
All right, well, we'll get this kicked off here in just a minute.
Okay, good.
Let's see, I was just going to send you, are you using a computer?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna send you the updated, just the updated outline real quick.
Okay, good, thank you.
Sorry, I was just having computer issues. So thank you attendees for bearing through these, some of these technical issues. So excuse me for just one moment.
Yeah.
I checked out your Crip Hop website and it's so cool.
Oh, thank you.
Give the big shout out, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we're about to change web host, so we're about to get a new website. So yeah.
Cool beans.
I confess I haven't checked out. I plan to check out the Crip Hop website, but I haven't done it yet because I'm thinking, well, I can't hop.
Would you mind,
I use a stick to walk.
I'm going to introduce you here in a moment, but would you mind letting our audience know the best way to get in touch with you? I mean, I know that's a little bit premature, but just in these little moments here as I'm sending this over to you.
Yeah, you can get in contact with me. You can drop me an email at blackcrip with a K, blackcrip@gmail.com. I'm always on Facebook, so be way more on Facebook, Crip Hop Nation everywhere. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Great, we can put those links in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, and I'm sending this now.
Okay.
So it might take a minute, and that will be from social justice student at Sonoma. Okay, thank you. All right, again, thanks everyone for being here. We would like to take the time to introduce our speaker in just a moment here. Some of you already know him, and that is exciting that that you obviously you have a big following.
Okay.
What we'd like to do is introduce the Social Justice Week event overall. And so we would like to welcome you to Social Justice Week for 2021. Social justice student Shelby Wade is a spearhead for creating Sonoma State's Social Justice Week, and it launched in 2015. The goal is to provide a space for not only the Sonoma State student body, but for the community as well. So we like to have that that blending together. To contribute ideas, gain perspective, and get an understanding of current social issues. The mission is to connect students with advocates who help students develop theoretical understanding of whose land SSU sits on and the power of grassroots activism for human betterment and social change, while raising student and community awareness of and engagement with issues embedded in societal social structures of inequality, colonialism, imperialism, classism, ableism, sexism, patriarchy, heterosexism, queerphobia, transphobia, xenophobia, and religious and other discriminations. We like to also involve students in social justice issues and organizations which produce socially responsible students, educated to be effective personal and social change agents in the pursuit of justice, community engagement, collaborative partnerships that strengthen communities, provide services and prepare students, and contribute to equitable distribution of economic, political, civil, cultural, social, and other resources and opportunities in order to promote personal, campus, and community development.
And then for the land acknowledgement, long before California, Sonoma County, and Sonoma State University, the land around us was inhabited by indigenous peoples, collectively known as the Coast, Miwok, and Southern Pomo. Now they are formally recognized as the Federated Indians of Great Rancheria, and chaired by Greg Saris, who also holds the Great Rancheria Endowed Chair at SSU. Sonoma State acknowledges in gratitude the Rancheria's ancestors for their stewardship of the land and all of its resources, and the current membership of their partnership in a number of educational initiatives, including the Federated Indians of Great Rancheria Learning Center at the Fairfield Osborne Preserve, located at on Sonoma Mountain. As Professor Saris writes in his 2017 book, How a Mountain Was Made, it is said that Coyote was sitting on atop Sonoma Mountain when he decided to create the world and people. But that is part of the big story of the mountain. We are now all part of the big story of the mountain, and our stewardship of its resources, including our county and our university, is an ongoing vital responsibility we recognize and gladly accept. Learn more about our Indian Native American initiative at Sonoma State University. You're muted.
My name is Jaden Clausen, and I will be your host for the virtual Social Justice Week at Sonoma State University for this session. I'm a junior and a first-year student majoring in sociology at SSU. So this is my first year here, and I recently received my associate's degree last fall. My passion is in this topic, in social disability studies and ultimately justice. So I'm really excited to introduce our speaker, Leroy Moore. But we're going to pause there. I'll introduce our student facilitator. This is Danielle Caballero. She'll be running the technology and organizing your questions for the speaker, keeping time and enforcing the ground rules, which she'll just run over pretty quickly here. She will be running the chat behind the scenes in the tech today. I'll be doing the speaking. If you have any questions about the Zoom interface, you can ask us now, but I think a lot of you are probably familiar with Zoom meetings by now, but feel free to ask a question. You can type your questions into the chat and she'll log those, and we'll ask those at the appropriate times. And then without further ado, Leroy Moore, I'm really pleased to announce you for being here. So thank you for being here. We're real excited to have you. Your bio is extraordinary, Leroy. It's Leroy F. Moore Jr., if I want to be formal. He's the founder of Crip Hop Nation since the 1990s. Moore was a key member of Poor magazine, P-O-O-R, starting with the column Illin' and Chillin'. I hope that I got that right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as a founding member of the magazine school, the Homefulness and Decolonized Academy, Moore is one of the founding members of National Black Disability. Moore is one of the, an activist around police brutality against people with disabilities. Leroy has started and helped start organizations, including disability advocates of minorities organizations, Sins Invalid, and Crip Hop Nation. His culture work includes film documentary, Where is Hope?, police brutality against people with disabilities, spoken word CDs, poetry books, and children's book, Black Disabled Art History 101. And that is published by, and I'm not sure your publishing company there.
Okay.
It's kind of hard there, but we can list that. It's,
yeah, it's okay.
I can't really pronounce that one, I'm sorry. His graphic novel, Crip Hop graphic novel issue 1, Brown Disabled Young Woman Superhero, brings disability justice to hip hop. That was published in 2019 and 2020 under Poor Press. And Moore has traveled internationally, networking with other disabled activists and artists. So we're super excited to have you here. So I'll give you another applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope things are doing good. Yay, yay, yay. So thank you once again. I'm taking time to describe myself. I'm a Black male with salt and pepper hair, sitting in my dark living room. And I have a Black sweatshirt on. And yeah, and that's me. In my description, I go by he and him. And I'm in Berkeley, California. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me. So this presentation really is a small talk about disability justice. You can see on my website that I do other presentations, Black disability resistance, to Crip Hop, to a lot of other topics. But this one is going to talk about disability justice and what people can do right now to really push disability justice and really help disability justice. So the first thing is that we need to know the difference between disability justice and disability rights, because it's a difference. And I've been seeing a lot of mix-up on the internet and social networking between the two. So disability justice started right here in Berkeley by Black and brown disabled individuals that were disabled, that were straight, that were queer, that were transgender. The really brain behind disability justice is Patty Byrne. And Patty Byrne is one of the co-founders of Sins Invalid. Me and her started years ago, but she really came out with the framework of disability justice. And everybody should go to sinsinvalid.org and see, the original roots of disability justice. Disability justice came from a group of us that saw disability rights as something that, of course, we benefit from, but we also saw that we were isolated from disability rights, and a lot of people didn't look like us in disability rights movement. And also, we had a bigger political lens around disability justice it goes outside of the courtroom. Disability rights, we got the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, we got the Rehabilitation Act of the 70s, we got Individual Disability Rights Education Act, and those are really good. Those are, the foundations that really brought us here today. But, disability justice says that, we don't live in the courtroom. We live in our communities. So really, disability justice talks about race, talks about, sexuality, talks about, the intersection of queerness and race and disability, and how does that look like? Now, disability justice, if you go on their website, they have 10 principles of disability justice. You can read them there. And those principles are really, the framework of disability justice. And I see a lot of people in academia that don't really go by these 10 principles. They take disability justice and now it's a hot thing and everyone wants to talk about disability justice, but don't want to talk about the original founders and really, it's for and by people of color with disabilities. So once you read those principles, Sins Invalid has a booklet. You could order that booklet about disability justice. And I guess they're also working on a book around disability justice. So really, go to Sins Invalid and really look and study about disability justice, because we can't really practice it if we don't really know what it is, and we don't really support the people that have done it, So that's that. So let's, talk about, after you read about it, and after you get some foundations about disability justice, how do you want to support disability justice at this time? Now, of course, you can support Sins Invalid, you can support the Disability Justice Social Club right here in Oakland that started with the late Stacey Milburn, that has done really incredible stuff on the ground. When the PG&E crisis was happening, they done stuff for that. They helped me when, especially now, because I'm going through a lot of housing troubles with my landlord. So they helped me, raise funds and stuff like that. So the Disability Justice Social Club is another aspect where you can learn about disability justice and what they're doing on the ground. So look that up too. Well, right now under COVID, disability justice, it needs your support, it needs your guidance, your education. What can you do at this time? You could uplift once again Sins Invalid, because it's people was like, why you always go back to Sins Invalid? Because I see people just taking disability justice and just reconstructing it like it's new. without really supporting people that started it. So I always go back to Citizen Ballot. I always go back to Patty Byrne. You know, you can support their work. They do more than cultural work. You know, people think Citizen Ballot, you know, does only cultural work. You know, yeah, they do a big, large stage performance, but they also do disability justice education. So you can support that work. You know, you can support, once again, Disability Justice Social Club. You know, Google that. They're in Oakland. You know, you can also support, you know, Crip Hop, because we try to follow disability justice principles in our music, in our cultural work and stuff like that. A little something about this around Crip Hop. Crip Hop is a network of musicians with disabilities that started 13 years ago. We have chapters all over the world. We do this work, you know, mostly, you know, off of SSI dollars. We don't really get big grants, but we do get awards and stuff like that. So Crip Hop is more than music. We do advocacy. We raised funds last year for two organizations during COVID. We raised funds for this Detroit group called Warriors on Wheels, and they're founded by poor Black and brown women with disabilities. And we also raise funds for this rehab living place in New York that has Black and brown disabled men that are poets, and they are speaking education through their poetry. So we did a fundraiser for those two organizations. Going back before COVID, Crip Hop put together this whole month of tour, African Disabled Musicians Tour, where 5 disabled African musicians came to the US, stayed in my little apartment, and we did a tour around the Bay Area. So that was huge, to do it with no funding and, you know, little support. So we did that. Going even further in our history, we raised funds to get 2 wheelchairs to Uganda, to a single father that had 2 disabled daughters. So we raised funds to get two wheelchairs to go to Uganda, and one daughter said, "Oh, you know, thank God for Crip Hop, but I want to go to school too." So in Uganda, you have to pay for school, even, you know, grade school before high school. So we got back on the wagon and we raised 2 years of funds. So this young lady could go to school. So those are some examples of what Crip Hop does, you know, beyond music. Because a lot of times people say, "Oh, Crip Hop, you know, they do music and that's it." You know, we do a lot more. One of our big goals this year and next year is to have a Crip Hop Institute, where we can buy a building here in Berkeley, I hope, knock on wood, to have a place where, you know, people with disabilities, you know, their parents, their community can come and learn about, you know, disability artists, disability musicians. You know, we have a vision that the first floor will be an art gallery, because for the last 4 years we have hired disabled painters to do pieces for Crip Hop. So in my small apartment here, I have like about 12 to 13 pieces of Crip Hop paintings all over the world. Brazil, Africa, you know, Canada. We have 2 that's coming from India this a good couple of days, you know. So we want the first floor to be with an art gallery, you know, the second floor to be our music studio. Third floor would be a library, because I collect books from disabled authors and writers. So they'll have a library. And on the 4th floor, I have an international floor where you can see large computer screens, so we can communicate with all our chapters in Spain, Italy, Africa, so around the world. So that's the biggest vision of what we want to do, you know, this upcoming year or 2. So I know I've been talking a lot. If people have questions, we can open up with questions before I can go on. Like, I could talk forever.
Danielle, was there any questions in the chat?
I didn't see any questions in the chat.
Okay.
About Audre Lorde, the principles reference Lorde's idea of non-conforming
Oh, I didn't hear that. Can you say that again?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I just saw a comment in the chat about Audre Lorde, and they said that the principles reference Lorde's idea of non-conforming bodies and the implications of this. So it's just a comment, not a question. But would you like to open up to questions in the chat? And are you comfortable with people unmuting as well?
Yeah, I mean, we can open up if you, yeah.
Or people can raise their hands too.
Yeah.
I have a comment. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to the gallery view so I can see you better, Mr. Moore. There you are. Oh my goodness. So my name's Kalia, and I've just been taking mad notes like the whole time you've been writing. I swear to God. Dude, I've been like writing every single word you said because it's like medicine for my spirit and my life and my healing journey. And I too am a community member living with a disability, and I have been since 1994. And oh my God, it makes me cry to say. So just, I feel so enlivened and helped and inspired by your life work. Like, you're just, I don't know, you're just breathing brilliance out into the air. And I just appreciate you so much. And I'm grateful that you gave us your email, because I'm going to email you like the wind. I have like all these badass people. I want to connect them to you and you to them. And like, that's part of what I do in the world, is I'm like a living bridge between people. And so the thing I could comment on, just like I'm too full in my cup to get a question yet, but I hope I will, is the thing that you said, that it's so important that people not come along as the excited newcomer and reconstruct a movement as if it is new. That was your language. And I am such a voice of that. Like, younger activists need to realize that we are standing on the shoulders of giants, right? And we need to honor the elders and honor the ancestors of the history of the movements. So when you said that, I felt validated because I carry that message a lot, and it's a bit of a rare concept, right? Like learn the history of the movement and know that, you know, like one of the guys that's one of the elder grandfathers of my disability movement, I met him last year for the first time. I almost levitated. And I said, dude, my entire life work is standing on the shoulders. I'm the whippersnapper on the scene. And he just laughed. You know, he was so glad to be seen that way. So I give honor and thanks to you as an elder, to me, just like leading the way and holding the light up on the road. Just thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. And, you know, keep on doing your work. I know sometimes it feels lonely out there, you know, because, you know, you put so much out, you know, and you get only a little back. So that's why I keep on saying, you know, get in touch with Cynthia Valley, just drop them an email and say thank you for your work. You know, I mean, yeah, it's so needed, especially in these times of COVID, you know, because we really can't go back to what was, because what was not accessible for us. It wasn't a utopia for disabled people. So we had to, you know, make something new. And this is a good time to do it, you know, to really practice disability justice and to really, you know, get in contact with those leaders. You know, I'm only one, but, you know, Patty Byrne, Mia Mingus, a lot of them, you know, Stacey Melbourne. I know she passed away, but her club is still there in Oakland, you know, so yeah.
And we also have two questions that are similar in the chat. They're saying, can we talk more about the distinction between disability rights and justice, and suggestions on what it looks like to bridge those two concepts, or I guess the lens of those intentions?
Yeah, like I said, you know, disability rights is like that, disability rights, you know, those leaders from Ed Roberts to Judy Heumann, you know, fought for, you know, civil rights from the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 to the Americans with Disability Act of 1990, you know, just look outside and you look at a curb cut, those were disability rights, you know. So, you know, that's disability rights. And of course, we're still fighting to get those enforced. You know, I said when the election was coming up, it's like, okay, every candidate had a disability platform finally, but you have to question yourself, because Biden has been in office for a long time, and most of our disability rights are not fully funded or not fully enforced. So we have to really question, yeah, you might have the platform now, but you've been in office for a long time, so what took you so long to get to this point, you know? And that's really important. And yeah, disability rights is really important, but disability rights is on a piece of paper. And if that piece of paper is not well funded and enforced, then what is it, you know? So you know, at this point, we have an opportunity to really push our politicians to go back and really enforce and fully fund disability rights that are on the books, and also follow the principles of disability justice at the same time, we can do both at the same time. People think that humans can't chew gum and walk at the same time, or chew gum and push their wheelchairs at the same time. But we can, and we must, because we are ripping off the future if we don't really push the implementation of these laws. You know, no wonder people with disabilities have the highest unemployment rate. No wonder people with disabilities live in poverty, because our laws are not fully enforced. So you know, the difference between disability rights and disability justice is just that disability rights, you know, it's on paper, it's our laws, you know, our enforcement, and disability justice is, you know, the principles of how we're going to live in society outside the community. You know, Cynthia talks about, you know, how do we move together? And that's hard in the disability world. You know, you might have a person that's a wheelchair user, and you might have a person that's, you know, deaf. You know, so how do we make things accessible, make things open to everybody that can, you know, participate? You know, Citizen Valley has this, not a concept, but we practice it on, you know, every meeting. We start with, you know, what would it take to have full participation? You know, if one person needs to have, to lay on the floor, then we make it happen to have that full participation. So, you know, Citizen Valley starts with that, you know, what's your access needs? Because it makes sense, you know, if you're in the meeting and you're talking about, you know, how to really have full participation or try to create something, and you're not dealing with the needs of the people in the room, then you're just building walls. So, you know, so that's a one good example of disability justice. You know, how we live it every day.
And then we do have one person who would like to ask you a question if they want to go ahead and unmute themselves and ask that question.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay, hang on, I'm gonna get you on the bigger picture for me again. So it's kind of a personal question, so I just trust you to decide like what you wanna, you know, disclose of your own life experience or not.
Yeah.
So it's this question: did you go through a point with your own disability of the feelings of despair, the feelings of feeling trapped? And did your justice work, was it part of what helped you, healed you, empowered you? Is there a connection between your personal healing work as a person and your justice work in the world? If I'm asking that in a way that works.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I always tell this story about me growing up in the 70s, and I was downstairs in my father's basement. You know, this was, you know, before computers, and my father had a huge record collection. And for the first time, I saw Black disabled people on records, you know, Black blues artists, Black, you know, soul artists on crutches, and that just like, it started there. It's like, okay, this is my this is my elders, this is my ancestors, these are my people. And I brought that to school, and of course, you know, at that time, there was no disability classes or studies anywhere. So, you know, of course, teachers is like, oh, no, let's get back to the real, you know, class assignment, and let's talk about Christopher Columbus. It's like, oh God. But the thing is that I finally discovered a mirror, you know, at an early age. And that mirror was my foundation. You know, although teachers didn't see it, I saw it, and that changed everything. Another thing that changed everything is when I saw the play Porgy and Bess. And I know some people like, who is Porgy and Bess? Porgy and Bess was a Black play back in the 60s and 70s that had a lead actor that was disabled. And that play went everywhere on TV and theaters. And it's so funny because when I saw it on TV, I shouted to my mom in the kitchen. I was like, Mom, I'm on TV, I'm on TV. And my mom's like, no, that's Porgy. I was like, Mom, I'm Porgy? You know, this is the first time I saw a Black disabled man on TV. So that changed my mind. So those two things, you know, really changed my mind and had a foundation that nobody could shook. You know, of course, you know, being young at that time, being Black and disabled, you know, you always, you know, go against the system, and you know, you always try to fit in. But those two things really stood out. Another story example of how I found my voice is that in high school, this was like 84, 85, once again before computers, and me and two other Black disabled boys, you know, came together every day after school and went out to my room and we wrote letters. This is so pencil and paper. We wrote letters to a lot of Black movie stars. You know, Oprah was on TV, Jesse Jackson, and we wrote all of them. It's like, you know, where is Black disabled people? We don't see them. And of course, we got foreign letters back saying, oh, there's nothing out there, and, you know, we don't know. And these are people with PhDs. So it's like, if they don't know, and then something's wrong, you know. So those, from us. Yeah, so those three things really shaped my work. And no wonder I'm doing hip hop at age 53.
Yeah, totally.
It just came from my childhood. Of course, I didn't have the term hip hop back then, but you know, all that shaped my work and what I'm doing today.
Thank you so much. So grateful to hear you.
And then we also have another question. It says, is there anything that people affiliated with big institutions like SSU can do with their position?
Oh yeah, you know, you could be, you know, I mean, you're doing it now. You're having me talk. You know, that's the first step. You know, for university, you know, you could also, you know, beef up, you know, disability studies, you know. I give you an example of Emily, a friend of mine that's a professor, and back in, like, I think about 5 years ago, she was teaching at University of San Francisco. And she and her friend came to me, and she knew me from my community activism, and she invited me to University of San Francisco to do a presentation on my work of being Black and disabled. And after that presentation, both of them came to me and it's like, Leroy, you gotta do a book. I was like, yeah, yeah. And they said, Leroy, how about doing a book on your poem? Because back then I had a poem called Black Disabled Art History 101. So they said, let's do a book about Black disabled art history. And now that book is out. We did the book, and not only a book, but also they came back to me and said, Leroy, let's teach this book for a whole year at the college. I mean, that's huge because they're collaborating with community scholars. And most universities don't do that, you know. They make up disability studies or poverty studies, and they don't collaborate with community scholars that are really living the work. So the University of San Francisco really did that with Emily and her friend, and they did it in 3 ways. The book, you know, they promoted the book, and they had a class for the whole semester. And that class is the framework of what Emily is teaching now, you know, and, you know, having community scholars come in and talk about different things like poverty scholarship, Report Magazine that I'm involved in, myself, you know, other people. So yeah, so that's one way that universities can really break out of the academic walls and get back to the community. Because disability studies, like any other studies, started in the community. It didn't start in the university. It started in the community. So we have to, you know, really pull down those academic walls and get back to the community.
Well, congratulations. That's a big work and a great accomplishment. So when are you going to come teach at Sonoma State?
Yes.
I would take your class.
We need to lobby Dr. Henry. Please.
You know,
you need to lobby Diana Grant, who's on this call. I'm just an adjunct.
Dr. Grant.
Dr. Grant, what can Leroy do?
I don't know, but I can spread the word. And also I talk to people who control money, which there's not a lot of it, obviously, but so spreading the word and getting support from people like deans and provosts is my role in Social Justice Week. So I'm happy to do this because, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, the ultimate dream of the Hip Hop Institute is to have that place and have universities and museums and other cultural places that don't know about disability, that don't know about the history of disabled musicians, and take it back to their place and do that kind of work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, your university can come to the Institute, you know, learn about it and, you know, how to incorporate in, you know, disability studies. The thing about academia, and I just have to be real about it, is it seems to me that different studies stay in their pocket. And I just don't understand, like Black African studies, there's disability all through that. You know, hip hop studies, there's disability all through that, you know? So yeah, it just, sometimes it just irks me how academia sometimes, you know, have a narrow vision, you know?
I agree, and I've been part of academia for 30 years, and sometimes it's just, yeah. I mean, the ivory tower thing is yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes, even though we can't get whole courses, or, you know, in certain budget environments, sometimes we can do other things, at least things like this, or invited lectures, or invited workshops, or,
yeah.
So let me see what can be done. All I can do is put out the word, see. So we really, really appreciate your being here tonight, again, from part of the Social Justice Organizing Committee and whatever we call it. And
definitely.
Thanks to Caitlin and her students for getting you here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. Appreciate your words. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. Do you ever do work with disabled children? Like,
you know, I used to do that work back in the 90s. It's strange. It's so hard to get into high schools and grade schools, you know. I don't know why, but it's so hard to get into those schools, you know. So
I was just curious. Yeah, I have my background. Well, I've got quite a bit of background. I'm not going to go through it all, but just the reason why I'm asking is my family has a theater group that is arts and theater, and has grown to something more, but is started as a kind of an after-school program for disabled children,
cool.
Open for disabled, abled. Now it's adults and children, but it's theater and arts and dancing. Yeah. And so it might be something to collaborate you with, maybe some workshops. So.
Yeah. You know, hip hop is doing hip hop workshops in Australia with disabled youth. So that's been going on for the last 5 months now.
Great. That's wonderful. Yeah. So is there any actionable items that we can do within our community to be able to help?
To help.
You went through a lot of items, but is there anything that we could do today?
To help disability justice. Like I always say, you know, you start by educating yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, that of course that's the basic 101. You know, going to Cinder Valley and reading that stuff. Buying their books, buying my book. You know, then coming outward, and especially in this COVID time. You know, we have this terrible situation in group homes and nursing homes with people with disabilities. You know, how can you support that? You know, is there a local drive that's going on in your community about, you know, getting people in nursing homes and group homes vaccinated, or at least having access to it? You know, our governor in California had to be pushed on making sure that disabled people had the access. So, you know, keep on pushing it, you know, write letters to the governor and, you know, things like that. Also, in my bio, you said that I, you know, do a lot around police brutality. There's a case right now in LA about a Latino youth that was attacked in his home by LA Sheriffs. So there's just a lot of work going on that. You could go to Disabled Voices, yeah. Disabled Voices, I think Disabled Voices Unite, and they've been doing work around that case. I'm on their board. As a matter of fact, their conference is coming up soon, and a lot of people with disabilities and organizations go to that conference every year. So you can Google, I think it's Disability United Voices, something like that. Yeah, just Google that and go to their website and sign up for the conference. The conference is going to be huge. It's the first time that we're doing it online, of course, but it's still going to be huge.
Well, thank you for all the resources, and thank you for our team members helping with this presentation, with all the resources and links, and this has just been just a great presentation. Thank you, Mr. Moore, for being here and for sharing, opening up to us about your story and your experiences and what you're doing to help make this world a better place for those that maybe don't have a voice or just can't fight for themselves or don't have the fight to try to make that path. We've only had ADA since I think 20 years, was it last year or the year before? I mean, it's just barely 20 years that we've had ADA. So, and I think people, it's been a struggle even with that. So there's still a lot of issues surrounding the disability voice, disability justice, disability rights.
Yeah. So. People, want to check out, on this movie called Crip Camp, that's out. The movie that Crip Hop was involved, we did the music for, is Rising Phoenix. It's about the Paralympics. You can go on Netflix and check that out. Paralympics is like the Olympics for athletes with disabilities. And I was in the Paralympics and.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
What was your event?
It was wheelchair soccer, and cycling, and discus. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, I know I have some friends that do the Paralympics.
Oh, good.
But that's good. You had 3 events. You were quite the athlete.
Yeah, back in the day, and I keep on saying that it's almost like a full circle. So now we're doing the lead song for the Paralympics, Crip Hop. So it's almost like a full circle,
Yes.
Going from athletes when I was younger to now doing the theme song.
So do we have any, I'm sorry, I don't mean to have a personal one-on-one conversation with our speaker, but does anyone have any other questions? And we can wrap up our talk here and let people get on with their evening. Thank you for carving out time and being here, all of our attendees and our speaker.
Hayden, can I just say one other thing?
Ah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Leroy, for being here.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, one of the things that was so exciting that you said, for me anyway, is you made the point that so much of this work gets done on Social Security dollars. And that, I almost levitated, right? Yeah, that's something I know a lot about in a lot of different contexts. And it speaks to the immensity of resourcefulness, creativity, and brilliance among people who are the most vulnerable, right? And I always just like to highlight that. all the magic comes from the people. It doesn't come from the top. It comes from where the foundation is down here, where there's almost no resources at all, right? And where we're hungry half the time, right?
Exactly.
And yet you're creating like a new paradigm. And so I just wanted to underline that because it meant so much to me.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I got all excited and probably talked too much. Anyway.
No.
It was with respect and love.
Too much.
We appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Leroy.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks, Leroy. Thank you.